If you're a longtime viewer of this YouTube channel, then you might have watched my June 2022 video titled, "Why Does China Hate Lithuania?" The online response to this video was wild, particularly because so many accounts from China planted pro-China / anti-Lithuania statements in the comment section. As I've since learned, these are people hired by the government to push a pro-China or anti-Taiwan message online.
You'll probably know what a Wumao is. If you don't know, is basically a paid internet troll from China. You see, the Chinese government likes to block about 70%, if not more, of the internet from its own people. However, it doesn't want other people in other countries to be able to talk badly about its government. It actually employs millions of people to go out there on the internet and post comments that are pro Communist Party of China, or try to sway the opinion of people that are being critical of the Communist Party of China.
So fascinating. I wonder if they'll do the same thing on this video. Well, maybe not now that I've talked about it in the introduction. But anyways, today's video will discuss the situation a little bit, but focus less on why China hates or hated Lithuania and why Taiwan loves Lithuania. The two countries are about 5,000 miles apart from each other and don't really have any direct cultural or historical relationship. So why do many people in Taiwan love Lithuania? This little, often overlooked, often confused with Latvia country known as Lithuania. Well, it's something we'll discuss for today's video. So joining me for this episode is Jun of the Instagram channel It's Jun Chen. Born and raised in Taiwan, Jun loves Lithuania and has already spent a few months here across 2 separate trips. I'll tell you more about her and her social media a little later on, but she'll be giving me a Taiwanese perspective of the whole situation. So what is the relationship between Lithuania and Taiwan? Well, the two countries didn't have much contact with each other diplomatically throughout the 1990s and 2000s. In fact, Taiwan's main partner in the Baltic states, up until 2021, was Latvia. So what changed? Well, the pandemic was one thing that brought the two countries closer together. According to LRT, Taiwan sent Lithuania 100,000 masks early during the pandemic. Lithuania reciprocated later on, sending doses of COVID-19 vaccine. The relationship would reach a whole new level next year, because in 2021, the two countries announced that each country would open reciprocal, unofficial representative offices in the respective capitals. As an LRT article pointed out, the announcement was nothing particularly out of the ordinary, since this was not an establishment of formal relations with Taiwan, where there's an ambassador and an embassy and all of that stuff. It was just an unofficial diplomatic presence. Taiwan and other countries have done the same thing for a long time now. The big difference for Lithuania was that it was agreed that Taiwan's office in Vilnius would be called the Taiwanese Representative Office in Lithuania, instead of the more common Taipei Representative Office that is used in other countries. When you really break it down, it's a difference of 3 letters that kind of represent the exact same thing. But for China, this was unacceptable. The Chinese government saw this as an additional recognition of Taiwan as a country and a territory that was separately governed from China. It would also further expand Taiwan's trade presence around the world. In case you didn't already know, the People's Republic of China has always claimed its right to Taiwan. Practically speaking, however, Taiwan has a separate government, a separate currency, and different passports. Yet, many countries around the world, both big and small, have to walk this stupidly fine line in making deals with Taiwan while not officially recognizing it as a territory separate from China. After all, China is a massive market and it represents big business for people all around the world. But enough of that background. Lithuania dared to stand up to China in the smallest of ways possible, simply allowing the Taipei Representative Office to be the Taiwan Representative Office. But consequently, Lithuania would suffer the wrath of Beijing. First, China announced that it had lowered its diplomatic relations with Vilnius and demanded that the Lithuanian ambassador to China leave the country. Then, Beijing imposed economic restrictions on Lithuanian goods. It halted freight trains to Lithuania, it stopped issuing food export permits, it cut credit limits, and it raised prices for Lithuanian companies. At one point, it even removed Lithuania from its customs systems. All of this prevented Lithuanian products from entering China, which obviously would have been important for certain Lithuanian industries. According to the website Modern Diplomacy, Lithuanian lumber, Lithuanian beer, Lithuanian high-tech lasers were all cut off. This was a loss of up to $400 million of business for the Baltic country. Beijing even pressured German businesses to exclude Lithuanian companies from providing services and components. China said that it didn't want any European products that had any Lithuanian elements. Now, I should say that this is a very short summary, and I know I'm missing out on further detail, but all in all, it wasn't good news for Lithuanian businesses and the Lithuanian economy. But you know what? It did earn the love and respect of Taiwan and much of the Taiwanese population. It even evolved into what some referred to as Lithuania fever. This Taiwanese support for Lithuania included the Taiwanese government launching a $200 million fund to invest in projects in Lithuania, as well as a $1 billion fund for joint ventures. When the people of Taiwan saw that Lithuania was holding its ground against Chinese pressure, they showed their support for Vilnius, buying up products from Lithuania. Products from the European country were scooped up by Taiwan and included rum, milk, beer, and chocolate. The CEO of the Lithuanian beer company, Wolfas Engelmann, stated that stores in China were no longer selling Lithuanian products and that his company might lose 500,000 euros in business from the country. But the people of Taiwan stepped up and tried to make up the difference. In 2021, that one company exported around 23 times more beer to Taiwan than it did in 2020. And did you know that the Lithuanian chocolate company Ruta has an outlet in Taipei? The company's shop over there saw many online orders coming in over the course of 2021. The jump in sales was a combination of gratitude for COVID-19 vaccine doses, as well as support during the China trade dispute.
We're going to check out a Lithuanian chocolate store.
Yeah, so Lithuania has donated so many vaccines to Taiwan during our vaccine supply shortage. And Taiwanese people have really stepped up to show how grateful they are by buying lots of chocolates at this little shop.
Ivan Huang, one of the importers of the Lithuanian chocolate, said that at one point, at least 3 out of every 10 orders came with a note attached saying, "Thank you, Lithuania." Ruta even created a special Taiwan-only line of chocolate. June remembers this Lithuania fever quite well, and she told me a little bit about what it was like at the time.
So that was the first time a country doing that, like really recognize us as Taiwan. And then after that, people are really appreciate how Lithuania support us. It's really interesting. So there are some things like going viral online. It's like Taiwanese people, we want to return Lithuanian support. So people start to post online, say, hey, let's use new Taiwanese dollars to empty Lithuanian products. Because we know there are some products they're supposed to be shipped to China but got banned. So people online just say, hey, let's help them. So just buy all the things. Yeah.
So we kind of know why Taiwan now loves Lithuania. But why would Lithuania even stand up for Taiwan in the first place? After all, good economic and diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China is big business, and Lithuania certainly would have a lot to gain if it was on good terms with Beijing. It also has a lot to lose if it's on Beijing's bad side. Walk through any store in any country these days, and you'll realize how much stuff is made in China. A lot of the world still relies on Chinese manufacturing. For Lithuanians watching this, I know the answer is probably obvious, but let me explain for everyone else. Lithuania, holding its ground against Chinese pressure, is rooted in its own history with the Soviet Union. Lithuania knows what it's like to be the small country under the foot of a large empire. It also knows the value of freedom and independence from that large empire. After all, it only regained its independence from the Soviet Union just over 2 decades ago. A Lithuanian person told AFP that Lithuania and Taiwan share the experience of living under the shadow of a communist superpower. Since then, we have Russia by our side, always bullying us, the person said, adding, Lithuania sees Taiwan as a sister. We're going to set an example that we can actually fight back against bullying. And as Jun describes here, it's also an annoying thing for Taiwanese people when foreigners assume that they're from that larger country.
I heard some of my Lithuanian friends, they told me when they travel somewhere, And when people thought about their Russian, they feel offended. And as me, I feel the same when I go somewhere. And then, of course, I know it's hard for people to know I'm a Taiwanese. But when people say, "Oh, I'm China," and I feel not really comfortable about that.
Some might think it's foolish to throw away the economic prosperity that good relations with China can bring, perhaps even boiling it down to a matter of insignificant principles compared with tangible prosperity. But I think most Lithuanians can see the big picture, and they take pride in their own distinct identity, their own language, and their own history. They want to keep that for themselves, and I think most of them want the same thing for the people of Taiwan. At least that's how I understand the situation. But my huge thanks to Jun for taking the time to sit down for a little interview and answer some of my questions. Jun's own case of Lithuanian fever came long before the events of 2021. In fact, it all started when some random Lithuanian YouTuber crossed paths with her in Taiwan, and so he invited her to visit his country. When she eventually made her way there, it became her new favorite destination. She even spent some time learning the language through a Vilnius University course. And so if you're on Instagram, you should definitely consider following along with her adventures, which are both in Taiwan and also in Lithuania. But to wrap it up, our Lithuanian word of the day will be palaikyti, which means to support. Palaikyti. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.